those tail slants because I like to shave the tail, so it literally looks like a white lab mouse. That's so embarrassing.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's Digital Dealer webinar. Today's webinar is sponsored by OfferUp and is titled Multiply Your Car Sales by Giving Buyers What They Want. Our presenters today are Malia DeSalvo, OfferUp Sales Enablement Manager, and Ryan Takazan, who is the manager of OfferUp Autos. This webinar will run for about 1 hour, including a question and answer session, so be sure to use the Q&A panel to enter your questions for our panelists. And now, please welcome our presenters, Malia and Ryan.
Thanks so much, and thanks for having us. We're super excited to be here in this lovely virtual environment that we all get to be in. So I'm going to set this up as saying, if I have any technical difficulties, just bear with me because I'm probably going to have some. Even though we're in a big Zoom age these days, you know, there's still a lot to work through. So again, appreciate everyone being here. Thank you to Digital Dealer for having us. Super excited to talk to you a little bit about the buyer experience and how that's changing and what that's going to mean to you as a dealer in that world. So to kick this off, we're going to do start it off with a quick poll. Have you surveyed your buyers during the past 12 months about their preferred car shopping experience? Simple yes or no. Give you about 30 seconds to fill that in. Give it a couple more seconds. I'm not actually timing this. I'm just going off my head. So it's not exact here. All right, since it's a 50-50 answer, we should have some pretty good results in if we can see what everyone's saying on that. I don't know if I'm seeing that come up at all. So Ryan, if you see it, do you want to shout off those results or?
I see the poll, but
okay, I got it. All right, so we have about 20% of you guys are saying yes and 80% no. There is no right or wrong answer there either, you guys. This is just trying to get a pulse, just to see the thoughts and if you guys have been checking in and just trying to get an understanding of how anything's shifted, you know, especially in the last year with everything going on with COVID and how that has changed. Quick fact as we start this off, 54% of consumers would buy from a dealership that offers their preferred experience, even if it didn't have the lowest price. It's a huge kickoff is why we're having this conversation, and what brings us here to talk to you guys about today is really focusing in on that buyer's experience, the preferred experience, and how it's changed, not just in the decades of the car industry, and many of you guys have probably been in it for some time, but more importantly, even in the past year, which has caused an exponential change to happen. And we'll dive into that a little bit more as we move through this, but really want you to be thinking about what is your buyer's preferred experience? What are they trying to do? How has that changed? And how are you meeting them there as well? So some of the goals today that we're going to accomplish are understanding how buyer preferences and their expectations have changed, identify some key opportunities that maybe you're thinking about doing or maybe haven't thought about doing, and some things that you can start doing immediately, as well as update your dealer journey to build trust and give car shoppers what they want. So Ryan Takazan and myself are going to be tag teaming on this a little bit today. So introduce myself, as Guy mentioned, I'm the Sales Enablement Manager with OfferUp. I have some time in the car industry as well, working both in the SpyFi section of the house, as well as the internet and the retail side. So I've kind of that multiple view. Ryan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Ryan Takazan. I'm one of the sales managers in the autos division. Like Malia, I was actually born and raised in the car industry. My father is still in the industry. I followed my father's footsteps, started my journey in the Acura dealerships across Mazda and Hummer, et cetera, and then found this opportunity at OfferUp to work in the autos sector again, but also helping dealerships drive more business. So here I am today with helping you guys out on the OfferUp end. So
and that's what sorry about that, Tag. And that's what I love about what we're doing here today. You know, I think taking, you know, our background and experience and really being able to understand some of the ins and outs and tying it with technology and how that's going to impact and play a role, you know, as we move forward throughout 2021, as COVID hopefully starts to wrap wrap up a little bit and things be to return to normal or whatever that is. So many of you guys may be asking, like, OfferUp is supporting this. Like, what the heck does OfferUp have to talk about this? So just a little bit of background about us. We have over 110 million downloads. And when we talk about buyer trends and things that we're seeing in the marketplace, we have 110 million people using our app, 56 million annually using them, and they're spending on average 19 times they're on our site per month. So we have habitual users. We get a lot of data from our buyers, both in the C2C marketplace and the B2C marketplace. So as we talk moving forward and about the buyer experience, it's specifically for dealerships, but also just buyers in general and how that's changing. I mean, we have, again, a huge pool of data that we pull from the people that are consistently on our app. We like to call them our habitual users. We currently have over 4,200 dealers as well that are utilizing us as well as we start to grow that autos realm, and they start to recognize the value of a horizontal marketplace and what that could ultimately mean for their business, as well as for their customers, their buyers experience as well. So just again, couple stats on here to tell you about us, and mostly where we're getting a lot of this information and why we're so invested in talking to our dealers about buying trends and how that shopping experience is changing, so that going to Tack's point, we can talk about the experience we have, but how it ties in and how we can really help support our dealers to meet their customers where they want to be met and how to adjust accordingly to meet them in the way they want to be communicated. So what's become abundantly clear is that we will not return to business as usual when the all clear is given. So a quote from Sandy over at Cox Automotive recognizes this. I'm sure every single person on this webinar right now recognizes that whatever normal was, whatever normal is not going to be the normal moving forward, right? And so how to make sure that you're prepared to be as adaptable as possible and flexible as possible, and technology and incorporating that and being an early adopter in a lot of these different technological trends and digital adoption is going to be a key to being able to pivot quickly. We're not going to do a poll, but just be thoughtful of, when COVID hit and everyone was like, this is just for a couple of weeks, we're going to send our people home for a little bit, like, we'll ride this wave out. All right, well, tax season is just kind of like wrapping up, but we're kind of in, stimulus checks are coming. Okay. So even as you think about what normal changes, it's changing every single day. And as we talk more about this presentation throughout the next 45 minutes or however long we have, 40 minutes left, that's what I want you to be cognizant of, is how to incorporate some of these things. So not just to set yourself up for success with the buyers that you're working with now, but how to ensure that it's something that can be a scalable concept that you're bringing forward, right? And how can you do it and pivot quicker as more trends and more changes happen? One of the things that I'm sure you guys have all heard about is digital transformation, right? The acceleration in digital adoption is one of the most obvious relatable trends driven by the pandemic. So many of you might be thinking, what is digital transformation, right? We've heard digital, we've heard all these trends. That ties into a lot of what the shoppers are doing and how they're interacting with you. It's digitally, right? So the buyer experience has changed. They want trust and transparency because they can now do all this research before they even come to your dealership. One of the things we talk to our dealers about is that 54% of the buying decision is made by the time they even show up on your lot. So how are you getting in front of them to start building that trust and build that transparency earlier on in their process, so that you are one of the lots that they show up on when they shorten their list basically down. Loyalty among car shoppers has shifted, right? Again, many of you guys have probably been in this industry for a very long time and have seen the trends and seen the shift. Gone are the days of someone coming to 5 different lots to shop and you educating them. Now it's them educating themselves and coming to you with a lot of information that they already have. And 65% of these buyers won't be going back to pre-COVID shopping experience. And this is the one I really want to nail home on this slide. 65% of your buyers won't be going back to pre-COVID shopping experience. So if you're still doing business the way you were pre-COVID, great opportunity for you to reevaluate and look at some things to maybe shift to get in front of those 65% of people. That's a big, big number if you think about it. And e-commerce as a whole will be 24% of the economy by 2024. Again, that's partly why we're here from OfferUp. We really specialize in e-commerce, that re-commerce look. And as we look at how these buying trends will change, it's going to be digital. It's e-commerce. They're going to be doing the majority of their stuff is all going to be electronic. No longer, pulling out the newspaper and seeing what Labor Day ads are coming up, or what they're going to stop at 6 different dealerships on the weekend. This is just an overarching stat showing the lag. There's going to be a big lag. So even when we get the all clear from COVID, or as we start to learn that the curve is flattening, people are still going to be scared. They're still going to take a little bit of time to, they're going to let the early people go out and wave the white flag and let everyone know it's safe. But this is just a few stats on showing that on average, most things you see down here, from going out to dinner, shaking hands with somebody, flying on an airplane, taking a cruise, 6 months is about the kind of the sweet spot where people are going to have a lagging returning to whatever that was before, that consumer confidence comes back. So going out to dinner, 76% of people are going to wait for 6 months after the curve flattens to go. And we're still not even at the curve flattening. We have a lot of things coming down with the vaccine and people being more aware. But until the curve flattens, add on 6 months to that. So if you're, as a dealer, like last year, we're like two weeks, cool, we'll shut down, give everyone a little bit of time off. 2 months. Okay. Oh, it's been a year already. We're still some time out before that consumer confidence comes back. This is just showing you the lag. So that curve flattens, you still got another 6 months. We also have another 6 months until that confidence comes back, where people are feeling safe again, right? To return to whatever that new normal is going to look like. And I want to stress again, the new normal today is not going to be the new normal in 6 months. It's not going to be the new normal in 6 months after that flat curve, or that curve flattens as well. So what does this new car shopper look like? And when we say new car shopper, it's not the one looking for new cars. It's the post-pandemic buyer. Without sounding super morbid and the post-apocalyptic, post-pandemic buyer, this is what we're talking about. What's the shift that's happened with COVID causing these buyers to think differently, to shop differently, to act differently? So who are these people? And as we look again at our 100+ million people that we have on our app, 54 million a year, this is where we get some of those trends from. They care more about the customer experience. So going back to that stat that I had, 54% of the buyers care more about the customer experience than they do about price, right? These new shoppers really want to be catered to and have that good experience with them willing to go to a competitor after 3 or fewer bad experiences. It only takes 1 to 2 bad experiences for them to wash their hands and move on to a competitor. Unless you're running a monopoly, there's always a competitor. There's always a different choice. They want to have a bespoke buyer experience. And bespoke is one of those buzzwords too. It's kind of that tailored to, that catered to. I know some people hate targeted ads. I am that person that loves them. I have spent so much money on targeted ads during COVID. It's a little sad. And I'm glad I have a separate account for my husband so he doesn't see all my purchases. But if you can cater that experience to me and you hear and my phone listens to what I'm saying to my friends, and all of a sudden I get these ads popping up, I'm buying them. They want, like, buyers, as much as that's a shift. Before, no one wanted these ads. We're like, the phone's listening to us. Oh my gosh, like Big Brother. But as these new buyers are emerging, or the shift, I should say, in the mindset is happening, people want that tailored experience. They want it to be about them. They want to feel special. Me as a millennial, people might blame Mr. Rogers for making us all feel special and we're all one of a kind. I feel that way, and I want to be treated that way as I'm buying something too. And I want that to be my experience. Want to be able to do more with less. So there's a ton of stats out there that you can look at, that millennials, people are deleting apps. They're trying to simplify their things. COVID has really brought to light a lot of the superfluous fluff that we might have in our lives, right? Friends, I won't say family because that would just be wrong, but friends, things, all these things that just are not necessary. I think it's really caused people to reevaluate what they're doing, and they're doing more with less. Again, they're deleting apps. They're purging their things. Marie Kondo, right? That came out with the, what did she say? Does it spark joy? And if it doesn't spark joy, it's out of there, right? So they want to do more with less. They're simplifying as much as possible. And trust and transparency are critical buying factors as well. And so being as transparent as you can, again, as early on in their shopping experience, and building that trust as early on, will get them coming through your door after 54% of that buying decision is made. So let's dive in a little bit more about it. So cars are desirable. People are not taking mass transit, right? I mean, for multiple reasons, because they're working from home, they just aren't commuting. Also, they just aren't feeling safe doing so. So they want to have the safety and independence of their own vehicle. If they want to be able to come and go as they please, they don't want to have to wait for a bus, get on it with multiple riders and be concerned. They aren't ride sharing. I just went on a trip not too long ago, and I was not going to be taking an Uber, right? I drove my own car to the airport, paid an exorbitant amount to park at the airport, but I wanted that independence, and I did not want to be ride sharing at all. Only 1 in 3 know what car they actually want. Most buyers will say, I just want something reliable. I need something with 4 doors, good on gas mileage. That's kind of all I care. But up from there, I don't know. So only 1 in 3 know what car they actually want. And nearly 2 out of 3 car buyers are considering pre-owned or certified. So again, going back to the simplifying, the more affordable aspect of it, the re-commerce aspect of it, they're becoming a lot more conscious of that. And so looking at going pre-owned or preferably certified. They're no longer on autopilot. People are actually slowing down and being very thoughtful, right? Again, less is more. They're not just gonna have all these apps or pictures and all this stuff on their phone, for example. They're actually gonna go through and clear it out. I'm gonna say this again, if it doesn't spark joy, you know, that Marie Kondo movement, I think really caused people to really reevaluate on what's gonna give them meaning. Less is more. They're shedding things they don't use. Again, OfferUp, we see it all the time, right? That's what our platform is for, is to help people shed those things and to give it a different life or a new life. Personal mobile devices have become the primary device for research and purchases. I don't know about you guys, but the second I'm done at work, I shut my computer down. It's never opened again for the rest of the night. I'm on my phone. That's why I have this ginormous plus phone. So I have the biggest screen possible so I can buy all the things I possibly need to, right? I mean, even if they're looking at, you know, a house shopping experience, most of my, like when I was on a Zillow or Redfin, it was on my phone. Very rarely am I doing anything on my laptop unless you're in the car business desking a deal, right? Or like if you're in the BDC working a lead and trying to get someone in. So the second my laptop is closed, I'm done for the night, and I'm on my mobile phone the rest of the night until my laptop's back open. Chat is becoming the preferred method of communication. So this one isn't interesting to me because this one really ties into millennials. I didn't copy the stat in here, so I apologize, but I think it's like 76% of millennials get anxiety when they have to make a phone call. That's crazy to me. And I'm kind of those, but I'm an older millennial. I won't tell you how much older of a millennial I am, but I'm older. So that resonates. Everyone's texting, right? The preferred method is text or chat, but at the same time, they want that same immediate response as if they were on the phone call, right? So they want to be able to chat and text as their preferred method of communication, but they still want to have that immediate response. And buyers are using local marketplace apps to do all their researching and purchasing across shopping categories. So again, you know, one of the things we really look at to do at OfferUp is be neighborly and build that trust, right? And I think that's why we've seen the growth on our platform from some of the buyers recognizing that, you know, staying local and neighborly, supporting local and having the trust and being able to have that brand with the people you're going to, the companies you're going to, is going to be important for these buyers. Real time. So going back to what I said, they want to chat, but they want to chat as if they're having a real life conversation with you on the phone. So, you know, again, they want millennials or these buyers, these new buyers, the Gen Zs, all these younger groups, they want it all, if you will. So they're looking for real-time engagement and they expect dealers to respond to questions quickly. You know, we find on our platform with the dealers we work with, our most successful ones are responding in 5 minutes or less. Right? Again, that's that digital change. It's no longer like waiting for a phone pop. You're not waiting for ups coming up on the lot. It's these chats coming through. It's these people engaging with you in a whole different way to start their buyer journey that way. Their journey is no longer starting in your dealership. It's not, hey, so I'm coming to look at a car, our family's growing, we need something bigger. It's someone coming in, hey, I'm coming in on this Toyota Sienna EX with this, and this. They're coming, it's going to change, it's drastically changed. And if you're not engaging with them real time earlier on in that under 5 minute span, then patience is gone. Like a lot of millennials, they'll go chat somewhere else. They have multiple chats going. They're conditioned to expect instant gratification. Again, I'm not going to age myself, but when I was in college, I was plugging my laptop into the wall and waiting for it to dial up. I was in those, what are the AOL chat rooms and all those like crazy things that you've got mail times. So that's changed. I have a 2-year-old who is currently in here making a ruckus, so I apologize. If I made her plug something into the wall and wait for the internet to dial up, I think she would literally keel over on the spot. I don't think she would even survive to the next day. So that's as like as technology grows, that instant gratification is going to be even more important for instant gratification, right? I think we can all talk about our experience. If I reach out to someone, a business, or even a friend, and I have a question and they don't respond, by the time they respond, I've already forgotten I asked that question, right? And I'm moved on to the next thing. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I've already answered that question. Don't worry about it. It's not any different as if they're reaching out to you and they're having that lag for whatever reason. So again, we found with the dealers with the thousands of dealers we work with on our platform, that having that response time in 3 minutes or less is really key to seeing that value and driving those forward. And again, reaching them as early on in their customer journey and their buyer journey as you possibly can, to start getting that interaction and that trust and transparency built as soon as you possibly can, as early as you possibly can as well, because that's what they're looking for. So that trust built through transparency, again, as I said, there's a lot of information on the internet. Back when I was in the car business, it was, I think Edmunds had just launched where you could see what the car sold for in your area. And then that was the big one that had come out. And then I worked for a Toyota dealership, and Scion went to peer pricing, right? It was a peer pricing. So it's like, oh, well, you can't do anything because they recognize, Toyota probably recognized, people are starting to get information and negotiating and all this, and they just want clear and transparent pricing. So that was even something that happened, again, I won't age myself, but a long time ago when it came to that, buyers want transparency. They prefer that customer experience over the lowest cost vehicle. Affordability and deals through access to pricing data. Again, how many of you guys have how many of you guys have had someone that's waiting for you to pencil something, and they're like, oh, actually I already have it. I just looked this, I'm going to go 5 miles down the road. It's this instead. There's information out there, and there's also a lot of misinformation out there. So that's where it's paramount, going back to engaging them as early on in their customer journey as you can through a chat, quickly responding to those to avoid that misinformation and be able to steer that conversation the way you want it to be steered, to build that trust through that transparency. So as you think about this, as I'm going on and on about it, how are you presenting information to the buyers that creates trust, right? And how are you doing it? Like what, through what medium? Is it through radio ads? Is it through newspaper ads? Is it through your website? Is it through these different marketing channels that you might be using? And what information and how are you presenting it? And I think that's what's changed a lot too. It's not just what are you presenting, the how is a big, big deal. And that's where that digital change starts coming in, and digital platforms are starting to really, really play a big role when it comes to engaging your customers the way they want to be engaged. So going back to our post-pandemic, so I kind of sound morbid. Going back to our the new car buyer, right? This new day and age, this new dawn, if you will. Cars are desirable. I'm not taking rideshare anymore. I'm driving my car to the airport. I'm going to park it there. I want the independence. I don't want to be on a crowd of like a bus with germs and all the stuff that might come alongside it. They're no longer on autopilot, right? They're taking the time to learn. They're slowing down to really make sure it's something that's going to work for them and it's catered to them. They want as much information as they possibly can. They want real-time engagement. So while 76% have anxiety of talking to you on the phone, they still want to have that experience of that real-time, immediate communication back and forth. And then how do you build the trust through transparency? You have to be transparent at this point in time, right? I mean, these buyers, and this is just for any business, these buyers are educating themselves. They're getting all that education done before they even show up to your lot, before they even show up for that appointment. So how are you ensuring that that information is correct, and that transparency there, and that communication is woven from the set time they step onto your dealership until the time they're driving off with their new vehicle. So at this point in time, we've basically talked all about the buyer and how that's changed a little bit. So Mr. Tack is on here, is going to take us through the dealer journey and what that's going to mean to you, and how that might shift as well for you, and how you can improve that experience. Tack, take it away.
All right. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that, and great job. One thing I want to start off with is actually a report from McKinsey. McKinsey did a survey, and it stated that only 60% of consumer goods companies say that they moderately prepared to capture e-commerce growth opportunities. One of their executives said that when it comes to selling directly to consumers, that they really didn't know where to start, and it was a real valid concern. So direct to consumer selling, like they didn't know where to start, and the selling requires developing new skills, capabilities, and business and pricing models. But the trend was clear to them. Many consumers are moving online. To reach them, companies have to go there too. So diving into the dealer journey, get to the next slide, please. So diving into the dealer journey is like, where are the eyeballs now? Well, so what was 10 years ago isn't where they're at today or even a year ago because of the pandemic. These days, with a mobile phone, in the palm of your hand or in your pocket or even on your desk right now, like people like the idea of having like 15,000 cars in their pocket to browse through. They have many, many options that are local to them, but also less is more. OfferUp gives consumers a horizontal marketplace, and users are less likely to delete this app compared to car-specific apps because that's a singular serve purpose. Once that car is sold, they delete the app. Whereas OfferUp, they keep the app. We have 100 million downloads nationwide, 20 million monthly active users every single month, and our daily active users are spending 20 minutes a day on the app because it's very sticky. On top of that, the pandemic has changed things. I mean, let's face it, it's a force multiplier for the entire industry. The industry was forced to adapt and do it very quickly last spring. People were doing digital tours. People were sending YouTube videos to the customers, doing walkarounds of the cars, FaceTiming. Over here, my friends in the industry, they were doing at-home demos, taking the car to the person's home, scrubbing it up, make sure it's clean, doing the walk around, doing the demo, and then maybe even investing the deal right there at the person's home. But going back to what Malia said earlier, though, people are deleting apps. And since OfferUp is a horizontal marketplace where the buyers and sellers do not delete the app after the sale or the purchase, that also means OfferUp users are no more likely to delete the OfferUp app than they are Amazon. And so mobile shopping is here, and it's made it easier for consumers to shop, compare prices, do research, and connect at the speed of mobile. But also, we can all agree over time, automotive sites, maybe like Auto Trader, Craigslist, Edmunds.com, like they're starting to lose a little bit of traction because that generation of people that were used to using that in the mid 90s, late 90s, and the 2000s, they're aging out. They bought their cars. But also sites like OfferUp and Facebook, they're growing and they're taking on more of that, more of the population in the younger ages. But consumers, they want to use minimal number of apps. And 60% of OfferUp users rate the OfferUp app as a marketplace as the most useful app for car shopping, followed by Kelley Blue Book. And then we recently did a survey at OfferUp that showed that car shoppers are primarily using 3 sites, which is OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, and Craigslist. And of course, that's from our users. Let's move on to the next slide. Oh, thank you, appreciate that. This survey we took, it was over 500 OfferUp users, but a very specific group. These people were shopping for cars and trucks on OfferUp. They've engaged with probably 3 units or more, and it was over the past 30-day period. And so what you're seeing here is all the different marketplaces out there dealing with cars and trucks, and the price comparing, people looking for research. And the neat thing is, like, marketplace apps are focused on buyers and the buyer experience. And we think the glue is the horizontal marketplace app. But remember, these marketplaces and apps are driving millions of users and eyeballs onto your products every day and your content as well. With many site engagements, though, it's becoming harder to build loyalty and trust because there's so much information that people are, segmented. But 5% of vehicle buyers do the vast majority of their research online and answer their own questions, according to Google. And 2 times more buyers start their research online compared to using a dealership. Non-marketplace shoppers, people that aren't so tech savvy, they'll still visit about 4.2 websites in their search process, but more than 33% of car shoppers do all their research exclusively through a mobile phone. If I can get the next slide. So this slide is actually one of my favorites here, is because it paints a picture of what's going to happen not only now, but going into the future. I want to point out the first 3 red lines there, the 78, the 90, and the 70%. So of this segment, you have to keep in mind who the population is and how many people are in the country that represent these 3 groups here. Between the ages of 18 and 44 years old, this represents 113 million people in the country. That's roughly 37% of the entire US population. But 9 in 10 of the respondents between 25 and 34, they said that they favor mobile first when it comes to a shopping experience. And then you have 78%, which was a stat from the ages of 18 and 24. And this represents your newest qualified buyer cohort. Engaging and responding promptly with these folks builds trust and it builds loyalty. More of a new generation are looking for a frictionless transaction. And it's also a more entitled generation, and they want that instant gratification. I think because of the mobile phone and Amazon and everybody else, I think we're all wanting more instant gratification these days, and we have to pick up with the trend. So if I can get the next slide. So who are these mobile buyers? 47% say they can't live without the device. I'm one of them. I mean, I'm connected all day long. I have a 17-year-old and an 8-year-old. But that being said, the most staggering stat on here, what I thought was really important, was the brand value and how sticky mobile apps can be. Because users between 18 and 45, they're looking on their phones up to 160 times per day, which means if you're on a mobile app and you're advertising, getting your brand name out there, getting your new units out there in these apps, that means that you're planting a seed every time somebody opens one up. And so I make sure you get your brand out there. But users do more research on mobile apps. They're reading reviews, price comps, and everything else. But most will use their devices to compare while in a store or even at the dealership, like Malia mentioned. She and I both have been there, but in some cases, they'll do their research right in the middle of the demo, which is awkward. Or in worst cases, they'll do it during the first or even the second pencil. A stat that you guys might be interested in is more than 3/4 of the internet users between the ages of 16 and 64 in surveyed countries. They say they've been spending more time using their smartphones in recent weeks compared to their pre-lockdown behaviors, with almost 4 in 5 women reporting an increased mobile use as well. And so like this is our people, this is your local communities. And it's important at the speed of mobile that when these people start to engage with you on these different platforms to look at a car or get information about a car, that we're diving in. Can I get that next slide, please? So the next gen of engagement, form fills, the slow form fill, doing an email or even like a modal pop-up, they're losing traction. Chat has the highest satisfaction rate, and also real-time chats. I mean, they're more affordable. I was thinking back when I was selling cars and Craigslist and Edmunds came out, and Craigslist invented the desktop era shopping experience. Though it was slow, it took a lot of effort. I mean, it was good for the time. I think we'd all agree. It's still good now in some cases because there's a generation that are still using Craigslist, but eventually that generation is going to phase out. But what is real-time engagement? When I was selling cars, it was make sure you respond to the internet leads this fast and make sure you pick up the phone in 2 rings. Well, with live chat, like Malia said, you want to answer these live chats inside around 5 minutes because you want to make sure that you're tapping into that instant gratification. But really, it's about making it a conversational marketing, a bespoke experience where the medium is live chat. The customer and the BDC or the salesperson is representing the brand, and they're making sure they're asking all the great qualifying questions to pique the interest of the customer, answer any questions they need, and make that customer feel like they're going to have a special experience with that someone across the line. We know that most car shoppers will contact the dealer or the seller through an app where they found the car, which leads us that chat leads will pre-qualify themselves. There's less pressure for the consumer, and the consumers are looking for that great buyer experience at the end of the day, and engaging and responding builds trust and loyalty, especially if it's within that time frame. But also comes down to cost. The average lead right now for a dealership costs around $205. With OfferUp, we have a top lead indicator, which helps dealerships prioritize their time. But we also have our concierge service, which for some of you that use chat integrations like Goobagoo or CarNow, we have one as well. We've figured out that the cost of acquisition is around $18. But keep in mind, 9 in 10 responders between 25 and 34 said they prefer mobile first. And so it's important to keep in mind of. Let's go to the next slide. So next steps, how do we make a dent and how do we make things better in the future for these customers to pique their interest and make sure they show up and make sure they buy a car and stay loyal to the brand. So let's go to the next slide. So creating a better buyer experience through technology. One thing is important, it's obvious, especially now more than ever, that buyer is is who they are, and they're expecting to be able to see things fast. Shameless plug here. You guys are actually seeing our OfferUp VDP, our verified dealership program. This is a view of the F-150. So someone clicked on a car, you can actually see all the images, all the car details, Carfax information, and it becomes a rabbit hole to see the dealership's entire inventory. But to start, it begins with images. And images are, they say 1,000 words. And with our platform, you can send up to 30 images at a time. So it's a lot of pictures for a car. But also sending videos to the customer is important as well. You know, especially using FaceTime, YouTube videos, you name it, or any kind of live chat ability. People want to see all the different parts of the car, especially if they're staying at home during times like these until things go back to whatever normal is going to be. But of course, on the VDP, you get extensive information on the vehicle detail page view. And of course, independent inspection reports that are easily accessible for the shopper to view. So why mobile? Why local marketplaces? Like this is your community first and foremost. Like I mentioned, 20 million daily active users, over 100 million downloads nationwide. These are your folks using these platforms. And this technology first approach to car shopping enables buyers to feel more confident and create more trust. It allows you also to drive home technology and adapt to it to let buyers qualify themselves and deliver a great buyer experience at the end due to like a no pressure and ease of use. And it enables the car shopper to get the answers to the questions before they even reach out to you, which is what they want. Let's move to the next slide. So the buyer journey continue, like be available the first time, every time thereafter. So this is like speed and making sure that you're responding quickly. Buyers want that instant gratification. Scheduling appointments, talking to them about the vehicle, asking them questions about how long or how often they buy a new car. As we all know, a person usually goes into a new car every 3 or 4 years, but maybe everybody's a little bit different. What are you using the car for? Asking specific questions. They could be using it for a commuter, or possibly using the car just for hiking and trail trips, as they're going to be their weekend ride. But it gives the customer the feeling that you're really in tune with their needs and their wants at the end of the day. Answering the phone or the chat as soon as the customer engages. At OfferUp, my best dealers are seeing the best success if their live chat is being responded to inside around 2 minutes, to tell you the truth. And when they first reach out, they're in peak buying mentality. Like right now, especially there's a lot of pent up demand because what we've all been through. People have been saving their money and they're starting to search and starting to pull the trigger and buying a vehicle. But the thing is, the longer you wait on a live chat, the excitement wanes over time. And if I can get that next slide. So handling real-time leads. Answer immediately. That's a given. Don't try to sell or apply pressure over the live chat, but know your objectives. And I'm sure your BDCs and your great salespeople know to ask questions to get the person talking. That's the most important thing. Build trust, which is important because why should a car shopper buy from you over a private party or other dealership? I know why, because dealerships have to disclose that the car is salvaged, etc. It's a safer sale. But of course, maybe there's the other dealership conversation. But how you interact with the customer, will help them answer those questions. Of course, grabbing the contact information so you can do your proper follow-up, setting the appointment, setting up that the follow-up appointment. Just make sure they're coming, and then make sure you confirm. So, but clear objectives, like you want to make sure you're going after those things. And oh, you moved the slide already? Well, okay, we'll go. So the in-person experience, like once they get there, you guys know, you guys are great dealerships. Be waiting when they arrive, smile, happy face, shake hands, elbows, whatever you guys have to do to make that connection. Ask if they like to have a coffee, a tea, or a snack when they, by the time they get in, or even like to say, show them around the service department, get them to know the people around there and establish the brand. Reference the conversation you guys had with them over live chat. Read the transcripts prior to, and then reaffirm that you fully understand what their goal was over the chat as well. And if they buy, send them a handwritten note thanking them for their business. If they don't, send them a thank you email, which is also important as well. So next slide. So In closing, if you want to talk about your own buyer journey or want to learn about using the marketplaces for your cars, let us know. We do have the OfferUp Verified Dealership Program. We'd be happy to serve you guys. And of course, we'll do everything we can to drive return on your investment. On our platform, just so everybody knows here, we do provide an account manager for our dealerships who are incentivized to actually help you drive the return on your investment. So it's not a service that you subscribe to and it's like good luck with your leads. Like our folks here, we have a real investment in you and we will make sure we help you guys drive and sell more cars. And coming from two car people, Malia and myself, we're passionate about car sales. Like I mentioned, where my father's still in the industry, it hits home to me. And there's nothing worse when my father would spend 50 grand a month on advertising and come home and take it out on the rest of us at home because marketing didn't work or something. It was a bad month. You know, I think we've all been there, but very, very important to me. We provide great service for you guys. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. And thank you.
Well, thank you, Malia and Ryan. That was excellent. So we do have a few questions from the audience. Just a reminder for the audience, if you have questions, please continue to use the Q&A button to enter your questions for them, and we'll see how many we can get to. So the first question I have for you guys is, can you talk a little bit more about online marketplaces and how they're different from classifieds and online services like Craigslist?
Yeah. So online marketplaces like apps, like it's important, like with marketplaces like Craigslist and stuff like that, you mentioned before, like they're starting, the generation's aging out. You know, Craigslist, in my opinion, like they were slow to adapt to the mobile world. Like you still had to go enter in manually www.craigslist.com. Granted, a couple of years ago, they updated to an app, but even then it's still a cumbersome experience because it's just like a mirror thing of what their experience was on the website. So when you have an app experience that's mobile first, it goes into what we're used to with our motions on the phone today, which is like swiping, hitting chat, and it's instant gratification. Live chat's important because again, sending emails and waiting for an email to come back or things get lost in a shuffle of emails, that makes for that cumbersome experience when people today especially want responses right now. So I think there's a big difference between apps and of course just website experiences in general. So if that answers I hope that answers your question.
And I'm going to echo everything that, excuse me, that Tax said, that Ryan said. I think also, you know, one of the things, and again, shameless plug with OfferUp, that I think is really unique when you think mobile marketplace is, you know, we mentioned this before, it's a horizontal marketplace, right? So it's not a vertical specific marketplace. It's not something that, again, someone's going to delete. I could be looking for a table because I'm going to be moving here pretty soon. I'm looking for a new dining room table, mid-century modern to be specific. And I might have searched for a vehicle on something different. And all of a sudden this Honda Civic pops up that's close to me because one of our verified dealers has a promoted placement. So it's also getting in front of passive buyers, you know, as people are looking for other things and doing more with less. Right? How can I do more of what I need to do with less? You know, with OfferUp, for example, that's why I love being here. I'm super passionate about the autos industry, which is why I work specifically with our autos team. But I'm also super passionate about OfferUp and what we try to do. And that's that neighborly, it's building that trust and building a platform where our dealers feel good about being on here. Because then our buyers trust that anyone we have on this platform and that we're doing business with also portrays some of the same values. So I think, you know, when to Tax's point, mobile first is the biggest thing now. Before, like 5 years ago, everyone would do a mobile app after they already had their website, right? And that's shifting. People are going mobile first now and recognizing that I'll be standing in line or waiting for daycare pickup and I'm just on my phone scrolling, right? It's a habitual thing to that point. And I'm not taking my laptop and going on a web browsers and finding a hotspot while waiting in line to do a kid pickup. So I think that's shifted a lot in how businesses are attracting people and reaching them. Again, that's the key, is how are you getting in front of these buyers? And you might have the best website on the planet, but if you don't have a good app or there's nothing driving them to that website, which is what the mobile app can do, then that's, I think, where the miss is and where the mobile marketplace is starting to shift and really, really engage buyers in that different way.
Great. One more thing I just thought of too. In regard to apps versus like regular websites, is that if you guys think about, if you guys, you know, grab your phones right now, you look at them, like if you do a browser search on your phone, granted you do a manual search, and then you clear your history or you start delete windows, there's effort and memorization that goes into what was that site I went to again? Where was that car? Where was this thing? And the thing about the technology is that the cookie doesn't bring you back to your previous search or what you're looking for in the past. However, if you think about the apps that you use in your phone on a mobile marketplace, like the Amazons, OfferUps, the Facebooks, you name it, there's always a cookie. There's always a recent activity. There's always some, Hansel and Gretel trail to bring you back to where you were without having to memorize the thing. And if you do forget, those apps are super sticky, and that's important. So anytime you looked at a vehicle, or especially a specific type, or you did a specific search on an app, well, guess what? Everywhere else in the world, including on your phone, you're going to start seeing, oh, there's that car again. Oh, there's that brand again. Oh, well, there's that brand and that car again. And then, of course, they'll say suggested items. You get that with an app. On top of that, you don't delete an app from your phone typically if it's something you use, for 20 minutes out of the day. And so that's what OfferUp is doing these days. And these other marketplaces are growing with us, like the Facebooks too. So
great. I'd add to that there's muscle memory around apps too. You know exactly where it is, which screen it's on. When you can get right back to it very quickly. Mm-hmm. Ryan, you touched a little bit on chat. What are some best practices that would allow us to convert more leads?
Ask questions. Yeah, ask questions. I take back to like the old school like car sales mentality, which is, great salespeople are great storytellers, and be a great storyteller, you really have to know who your customer is. And so, if you have a live chat, you have the question around, ask them questions like, how long do you usually keep a car for? What will you be using the car for? Why are you shopping for a car right now? There could be some sense of urgency in there. There's many reasons for why people are looking for cars. And always ask questions like, do you have one or two types of cars in mind? Or are you just kind of browsing the market to see what's going to fit your lifestyle? Tell me more about your lifestyle. So really it comes down to like the salespeople turn into what I think of as like the Men's Warehouse suit guy. Like you dive in, you ask questions. It's a very tailored experience. One of the best salespeople I ever met was a person that got my son suited for one of his proms. And I was like, I even told my son, don't say a thing, because he's going to ask you a bunch of pre-qualifying questions. He's going to be very good, very personable, and he's going to dig and he's going to dig. And all of a sudden he's going to ask a qualifying question, gets closed, and then I'm going to be dropping money. And so, well, I lost that battle, but asking questions is important. Time, responding quickly is important, because if you think about the age groups and text messages and things like that, people don't like getting ghosted. If they send a response or an engagement with you over a chat, you want to respond inside 5 minutes, ideally inside 2 minutes, and keep that engagement going, get that qualification happening as soon as possible. That's really important, is timing. But yeah, the ghosting thing is important, because think about it, put the shoe on the other foot. If you're texting someone important to you and you're expecting a response back, right? There's an expectation there, and you don't get that response back after like 15 minutes. You're probably thinking, oh, they must be busy, or why are they so busy? Why aren't I getting responded to? So make sure you're staying on top of your chats. And of course, the recurring conversation, the reciprocating conversation going forward.
And I think too, to add on to that, when I was in the internet department, we were communicating via email. Right. So now that chat is that immediacy of response, if I'm going back and forth in an email, then it's a little more accepted that there will be a delay in communication, right? I have an appointment coming up. I set that expectation. But going back to the response time in chat, everyone's goal is always to get the appointments set, right? Get them in. And the chat, the response time, again, going back to what the timing that Tack was saying, is key. Right? Because that's the difference. Back before was like emails back and forth, like, okay, this takes a long time, just come in, set the appointment. Chat's so different that under 2 minutes is just like, that sweet spot that 10 years ago was not a thing. Even 5 years ago, you could have a little longer response and it wasn't impacting the buyer's experience. It's drastically been exponentially growing versus, more linear because of COVID.
One thing I'll add too, in reference to chat and making it better, if you find that you have chats just falling off and your response times are not inside that 5 minute realm, consider a chat partner. Like Car Now is like very customized to the auto industry. You have Gubagoo out there, and even OfferUp, like our dealerships that come on board with us, like we have a concierge option as well, where we have trained people through Car People to handle chats to get them qualified before they even get to you. So if you can't get to your chats fast enough, do yourself a big favor and go see what the value is with some of these chat integrations to build in your own business so you can actually capitalize on those folks.
Excellent. I got a question here. What engagement do you see from women purchasers?
I don't have those stats in front of me, unfortunately. I wish I
can
could
answer that probably.
Can you really? Okay.
Well,
good.
I mean, kind of. So having been a woman in the car business and selling cars, I mean, even back then, you know, that no pressure I mean, I think there's always this sense of concern being a woman going in and buying a car, right? So they're going to do even more research as much as they can before they have to step foot on a lot, because of just those preconceived notions. And that's why I always did well in the car business, because they'd see a woman salesperson like, oh my God, can I work with you? And I would bop them harder than anyone else would, right? But at the same time, I gave them that great experience, and I put them at ease. And I think they're doing way more research beforehand. They're the ones that's going to be on their phone, researching, getting as much information, doing the chat before they step foot in a dealership, because of those preconceived notions and this scariness. You know, they want to take a brother or a dad or a husband or the boyfriend. So I think what I would say the trend is, just, you know, from my personal experience, and is that's shifted even more so, where they want to be even more prepared and they want even more transparency, and that trust really, really has to be ingrained in them before they want to show up on the lot.
Yeah, that said, in my earlier in the slide early in the presentation, though, when I referenced the increase in mobile usage after the pandemic, there has been an increase in women using their apps and mobile devices going forward. And so that is definitely something to consider.
Great. What is the best thing we can do to start improving our journey today?
One thing that I would suggest would be to make sure that you're going to be putting your brand in your pre-owned vehicles or even your new vehicles on the top 7, top 8, top 10 platforms out there in the United States today. And so, you know, that's important too, because I mentioned the apps are sticky, right? And so if you're getting your advertising out there and you're kind of, you know, spraying your advertising dollars around where it's actually very relevant, I think that's very important, especially in today's day and age. Like, make sure if it's mobile, you're doing it, because that's so important for today.
I think too, also the first question we asked, when's the last time you surveyed your shoppers and your buyers? You know, get a good baseline, and maybe, you know, 80% of you guys said you hadn't. That'd be something to reach back out to, maybe past customers, or you know, just to re-engage them and say, hey, just trying to get a pulse, you know, come up with some good poignant questions to really understand their shopping experience, what went well, what they would have liked to have seen more of or seen differently. And then you can coach accordingly to your people. You can look at the different technology trends and then see where you can pivot from there as well. So, you know, with everything Tax said, as well as, you know, look at your buyers, talk to them. That's the best way to do it. You know, you have, you know, X amount of past customers that you can talk to and re-engage, and just get a better understanding of where some opportunities might be and where some strengths are that you want to continue building on.
Yeah, especially in your target market, because that's your community. Yeah.
Yep.
Huge.
We've got one question that's probably not that relevant to the auto market, but an attendee wrote that they are a power sports dealer and they wanted to know, does OfferUp offer the same service to that market?
We want to. Actually, I was talking to a power sports dealer with one of my salespeople just the other week. And unfortunately, I had to get on the line and let them know we're not quite there yet.
We're coming, though. We're coming.
Soon. So we're definitely looking forward to the power sports RV, you know, motorcycle industry. If we can get your contact information, I'll definitely make sure personally that once we have this up and rolling, that we'll be able to serve you as a verified dealer as well.
Well, and also going off that point, I think that's something to be thoughtful of too. I mean, we've seen the growth of, like, we have OfferUp Autos. It was just kind of this organic thing that came up, right? And now it's just becoming this big trend, and people are recognizing that mobile marketplaces, horizontal marketplaces, are actually a great place to market to your people, and it's a different subset. And as we look to do that, adding the power sports, right? Adding different verticals, adding on to this, because people are recognizing that mobile marketplaces are not just like a one-off thing, right? It's not like we're going to be here and be gone. It's the very start. And the early adopters when it comes to digital transformations are the ones that, going back to what I said, are the ones that can pivot quickly. So as COVID starts to clear up, you know, and things, the sun comes back out again and everything's good, you can pivot that much quicker and scale that much faster by adopting some of these things, taking a minute to reevaluate and seeing where the growth is happening. And obviously, tooting our own horn, there's a lot of growth at OfferUp because people are recognizing that not just for autos, but e-commerce as a whole, this mobile marketplace is taking off. So going back to the power sports question, we're coming. We're going to be doing more. We recognize, like, our dealers recognize the success and what we can do. And so that's where even early adopters really can take advantage of it and get here early and just be able to pivot and shift as needed throughout. And it makes you that much more adaptable.
Yeah. I mean, mobile market in OfferUp alone, just it painted a picture when I first started OfferUp a couple of years ago. You know, this is stuff, the information I can share, which is when I first started a couple of years ago, Q1 of 2019, OfferUp had around 79, 80 million downloads nationwide. And then we acquired our number one competitor, which was LetGo, who had a different footprint. It reminds me of the model of like the cell phone companies. Sprint had a footprint and AT&T had a footprint, or T-Mobile had a footprint, and then they merged. Well, we purchased our biggest competitor, which was LetGo, and so we took over their footprint. And so now we have well over 100 million downloads nationwide, and it just tells you like how many people are using mobile apps to do their browsing and their research and their shopping these days. You know, and like I mentioned before, it started with Amazon, really. You know, the bookstore. For those that don't know. And now they have an app. Everybody uses it from grocery shopping to everything else. OfferUp is like a re-commerce app. You know, we have all these people buying and selling stuff. And I always love to say, like, these are your people in your community. Like, who uses a shopping app to buy and sell stuff? I always think about in the car industry, it's like, okay, well, it's people that own homes. They probably have credit scores of 600, 700, 800 if they own homes. And I look at the maps of certain regions, like the Mesas, the Phoenixes, the Los Angeles folks, Seattle, and so on. And it's like, yeah, all these people are OfferUp users, and especially those age groups I mentioned earlier. You know, 100 million downloads, and the ages of 18 to 44, there's 114 million of those folks. That's the sweet spot. You want to be here. So you want to be on mobile.
So thank you, Malia and Ryan. Do you guys have any final remarks like that before we close?
Thank you for having us, especially during these times of, you know, being stuck on Zoom. Much rather be in person and shaking hands and meeting everybody, but really appreciate everybody being here. So
I second that.
Yeah.
To our audience, thank you for attending today's webinar, and thank you to Malia, Ryan, and OfferUp for that great presentation. To view this webinar on demand and future Digital Dealer webinars, please visit digitaldealer.com/webinars. Once again, thank you and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.